So officially, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us in our webinar where we're going to talk about Ottawa's ESAP project. I call it ESAP. Thomas, feel free to jump up and fix me here. It's part of the District Energy webinar series that we are holding, part of the Clean Air Partnership efforts to support municipalities in reducing their GHG emissions. As I mentioned, Thomas is on the call with me, and he will be our guest speaker. Jim Manson from FFB is unfortunately sick, so he cannot join us, but Thomas is really equipped to do the presentation and answer all of your questions. Very quickly, I wanted to share this question with you, just to see who is on the call and also to get a better sense of potential projects that we can feature in this webinar series. So which municipalities have district energy projects in planning or in place? If this is your municipality, or if you know about some other municipality, or just the project's names, that also can help. Please feel free to answer in the chat. And specify the name of the municipality, please. And I will copy this in the chat as well shortly, this question, so you all can reply. Starting with land acknowledgement, I mentioned, but Clean Air Partnership is a Toronto-based organization, and we acknowledge that the land on which we operate is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. In our effort to do a more meaningful land acknowledgement, we show short videos where we can learn something more about the Indigenous culture and life. So in this video, it's from Janon Webb, and he talks a little bit of the difference between the Indigenous and the Western way of knowing.
There are some key differences between Indigenous and Western ways of knowing, but the one that stands out to me the most is how we view the natural world. Westernized thinking separates human beings in the natural world as separate experiences, and one is often there to work for or offer themselves to the other's benefit. My people, the Anishinaabe, see the natural world as a living, breathing entity just like us. And with that, we believe there's a relationship to be had with those beings. For us, we often take our whole lives working at that relationship and making sure everybody gets what they need. The point of this video isn't to say that my view is better than your view. I'm just asking for open-mindedness. No one way of thinking is true without a collaboration of our worldviews. Miigwech for watching.
Miigwech for watching. Very briefly, I wanted to share with you a course we developed with the purpose of informing elected officials or staff that does not normally work with climate on climate actions at the local level. It's the Municipal Climate Action 101 course. It's free. Feel free to take it or to forward to someone that may be interested in taking it. And I'll share a link in the chat shortly. Lastly, our upcoming events on March 27th, we are going to talk about what climate integration into urban forestry and stormwater plans look like. And on April 3rd is the other District Energy CC webinar series webinar, where we are going to talk about district energy ownership models, featuring presentations from Edmonton and Richmond, BC. Without further ado, I'm going to pass it now to Thomas, who is going to present the presentation on the ESAP project. Feel free to write your questions in the Q&A box while he's presenting, and we'll have a time after the presentation to answer them. Thomas, you can take it away.
All right, thanks very much, Essie. Let's see if I can share the screen very quickly. Okay. How about this one? You let me know whenever you can see the presentation. It should start. Here we go. And
yes.
I think, can you see the presentation? Excellent.
Yes.
So Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Thomas Metasawa. I'm with Public Works. You can see the presentation being done by my Director General, but it's not. Isabel is not available, so it will be me. I work with Public Works. I have been this project for many, many years. Eventually, we get to fruition in 2019. We started 2009, and we got the contract signed with private partner. I won't be reading the slides. I guess most of you can read much faster than I can do that, and ask questions as we go along. Unfortunately, I don't see the chat when I'm presenting, but you can raise your hand, or maybe Desi, I don't know how you want to run it. Usually, I prefer to get a question during the presentation, so if somebody is asking about the text or the picture, I can answer right away, because if it's a little bit of a waste time when everybody wait till the end, and then we have to go back to the presentation and trying to find the slide that the question was on. So anyways, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just said like sounds good, so I'll be monitoring and then interrupting you. Thanks for letting me know that this is okay with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so ESAP is Energy Service Acquisition Program. It's a program of work that is dealing with system that we have, federal government have in Ottawa. It's a huge investment. As you can see at the bottom of the table, it's $3.4 billion, but that's include operation for 35 years. Very briefly, the system size is about 100 megawatts of heating and about 70 megawatts of cooling, 80 buildings for heating, 67 for cooling. Mainly downtown core Ottawa. There were three different campuses. Cliff was downtown core. National Printing Bureau was in Quebec. Tiny Pasture, if you know Ottawa, there's a Tiny Pasture federal government complex that is renovated right now. And the last one was the Confederation Heights, another government complex, mainly office buildings that are right now in process of being probably sold to the public and changed to different environment. There are three stages to ESAP. ESAP stage 1 is the modernization project. It's two portions. ESM is modernization of the central heating plant and distribution system, and that was being done through the P3 contract with private partner. It's a DBFOM contract, which stands for Design, Build, Finance, Maintain, and Operate for 35 years. And user building conversion program is a program of converting the building, because our system was old-fashioned steam system, high pressure, high temperature, and we're moving into the low temperature hot water. When I say low temperature hot water, is North American low. We just want to be below 100, which is 95 degrees C. For cooling is about 3.4 degrees C. Steam was much higher temperature, so we have to completely change the distribution, completely change all the plants, and inside the buildings, we had to modernize building to be able to accept low temperature hot water rather than steam. This is all based on natural gas, but halfway through our program, when we started and signed the contract in 2019, government was pushing us to do the greening. So we invade the deeper greening program, which means changing the fuel from natural gas to something green and expanding the system to other buildings. Right now, it's only 80 buildings, as I said. And the third is bill expansion to the private partner. At the present time, our authority is only to connect the public building, any type of public building, that means federal, municipal, provincial, but the mandate to connect private building is not clean, so we have to make sure that we got this sorted. Just overview for those that don't know Ottawa. On the top of the screen, it's Quebec. On the south side of the river is Ontario. Our plants, the main plant is Cliff Plant, which is center of the picture on the Ontario side. It's just beside Supreme Court. It's connected through downtown core in a tunnels. The tunnels goes all the way to National Archives, National Library. The big gray, on the right-hand side of the screen. From this location all the way to the Printing Bureau, which is on Quebec side, It's a direct barrage pipe under the McDonald-Cartier Bridge and direct barrage on the Quebec side. Going towards the west, the Snow Tunnel, the connection between Tannis Pasture, that is a complex on the left-hand side, is being done under this project. This plant wasn't connected before. It's, again, direct barrage piping going all the way across to this other complex. So all the three major plants will be interconnected, Tannis Pasture, Cliff, and Gatineau Energy Center. What we don't see on this picture further down on the south, is the Confederation Heights, which will be on its own. On the left-hand side, you can see some architectural rendering of the future plant, because we're building a new plant. Cliff, Tannis, and Gatineau will be a new plant. We're abandoning the existing plants. This is Confederation Heights. That is farther down. It's closer to the airport. It's very small loop, mainly federal building, as I said. The plan is to divest it to the private sector and build work, live, entertain, shop community in this location. This is the only plant that has been renovated in situ. We didn't build a new plant, and the reason for it is that most probably under the new development plan, this plant will be moved to a new location, as it is located right beside the LRT station, light rail train, which is a prime location for future development. Target to carbon neutrality, I guess we started, our baseline, federal government baseline is 2005. So if you look at the total amount of GHG emission, it's easy because the percentage are almost equal to thousands of tons. We had 105,000 of tons, 106.4 to be exact, kilotons of CO2. By 2015, due to implementation of smart buildings, and if you don't know what it is, you can ask the question, and efficiency operation, we drop it down by 30%. Then we went even further down. When we go through the modernization, we'll drop additional 33%. So we'll be at 37% left. This is the 2025 where we complete the modernization. This is without Gatineau Energy Center. Gatineau Energy Center was supposed to be natural gas. Mid through the contract, we changed it to electric boilers. And this is not to be finished by 2025. So our substantial completion date for the P3 contract is October 2025. The Gatineau Center will be done in 26. Then you see this big drop of 29% when we go into production through the electric boilers in Quebec. The remaining 8%, as everybody knows, is extremely expensive and extremely tight, tough to do it. Imagine this 8% will be used, or capital will be used only for a few days in a year, peak summer and peak winter, mainly peak winter because summer chillers are already electric. So you have this stranded capital sitting doing nothing. So we're looking at maybe buying the credits. Okay, deeper dive in energy modernization. 5 years of construction. Contract was signed 2019. They took over in 2020, April 1st, October 2025. They have to be finished. They're building a new energy center for Cliff, Tannis, and Gatineau, and retrofitting the Confederation Heights. The fifth plant, NRC, will be decommissioned. They're also building a new pump house. We use river water for heat rejection and non-combustion cooling. The pictures are actual pictures from our construction as we're going on. On the right-hand side is Cliff, Tannis. Cliff and Tannis are being designed in such a way, Gatineau too, that the roof will be accessible, will be a green park on the top. People can walk on it. Right now it's a barber wire all around the plant, and you can even come close to it. So we are 3.5 years into the construction, and despite pandemic and 2 labor strikes, we still on time, on scope, and on budget. The on time is being tighter and tighter as we come to the closer of the contract, but it's so far so good. It's a very large project. As you can imagine, we have industrial portion because the plants, we got the lateral project because the distribution that's direct buried. We got also the kind of architectural because the plant is supposed to be an architectural landscape with visitor education center and such. A bit of a history. On the left-hand side is 2016. So the picture is from, 1916, what I'm talking about. And that was when the plant was built. It was built as a hot water plant to serve the Parliament Hill, only 3 buildings after the fire that destroyed the central block. Now you can see on the right-hand side, the actual plant is at the bottom. On the top is a temporary boiler plant. In 2009, we had the explosion. One of the boiler exploded, one of the 6, but unfortunately, the entire plant was contaminated with asbestos and was not accessible. We had to, and that was in October. We had to build a temporary boiler plant, and believe me or not, from the parking lot, we have steam running in pipe in 37 days. So that was, the building didn't look like that in 37 days. Now, don't get me wrong, but we had a boiler operational and steam was running, feeding the buildings. That's a rendering of cliff plant. As you can see, the cliff plant will be hidden behind the screen. The screen is supposed to mimic the rock face. So we don't, the NCC in Ottawa, we have organizations that take care of, how should I put it, how the federal government is using the land, mainly from architectural and aesthetic perspective. So they want us to hide the plant. And as you can see, the screen hides the building completely, with the only exception of visitor education center and the viewing panels that you can see on the right-hand side. The 2 silver, they are chimney structure, they are chimney clad with the stainless steel. So here's just another view, the building that sticks out like the glass. This is visitor education center. That will be some sort of kind of exhibition place that will try to have a program of work explaining to public how we can save energy, what federal government is doing, what the history of doing this, combating the climate change. That's the top of the cliff plant. It's fully accessible to the public with the beautiful view on the Ottawa River and the Quebec side. This is Tany's pasture, looking from south towards north, towards the river. The blue at the top is the river. Again, the same scenario. Top of the plant is a garden, is a walking place, is a place for people to enjoy with, again, the same type of chimney as you can see. You can see that, but on the right-hand side, you see that the gray wall. After that, there's a lighter wall. This is all glass, and the whole front of the plant is glass. So you can actually see into the generation room. You can see the chillers and you can see the boilers. User building conversion program, again, much smaller program, about 300 million to convert the 60 buildings to not 80, but only 60, and I can explain you why, to low temperature hot water. We started ahead of a private partner. We want to make sure that private partner will have the building ready when they convert the distribution system. And that's a picture of what we're doing, what's the demarcation. So the P3 contract is from the energy center, distribution, and ETS, which stands for energy transfer station, heating and cooling each building. A demarcation line is supply side of ETSs. So ESAP own ETSs in the building, the rest is building problem. Part of our journey right now, mid through the program, it was a big push to become green and have more capacity to connect the other clients. So in design, we already have installing 20% extra capacity. It's gas-based, it's natural gas-based, it's not the green yet, but we have extra capacity, and our base load will be covered by electric boilers from Gatineau. So base load is about 80% of energy consumed over the year. So only during the coldest days in a winter, we'll have to use the natural gas boilers. However, the natural gas boilers have full 100% capacity, plus 20. In case there's a power shutdown or the power outage, or Hydro-Quebec has a problem with the supply and they want to supply more, problem with the capacity, they want to supply to residential, we signed a contract with Hydro-Quebec that if they were really short, we can use natural gas to help them. 100% of the cooling is provided by carbon neutral electricity. We used to have steam-driven chillers powered by natural gas, obviously, but not anymore. Because as most of people know, electricity is not the only answer. We will be, it's impossible to have heat requirement covered by electrical distribution and generation in Ontario right now. So we're looking at other resources. If we connect more buildings, we have to generate more heat, and 30 megawatts of electric boilers that we have in Quebec won't be enough. So we're looking at both nuclear and biomass. Unfortunately, federal government, being Treasury Board, doesn't recognize biomass as a renewable fuel or carbon neutral. They look at the first 5 years. Obviously, with burning wood generates CO2, so to them it's not the answer. They don't want to look like everybody else in the world over 100 years of life cycle of the wood.
Thomas,
yes.
can we go back to that? Yes, that slide, because we have this one. We have a question here.
Sure.
And a raised hand. I'm first going to read the question, and then Mike, I'm going to give you the mic.
Okay.
Is this system being built with excess capacity compared to current demand?
Yes.
And Patrick is asking because the tunnel pager and Confederation Heights are going through major planning phases for high density district. Just wondering if these private buildings can hook up to this infrastructure, or will need to incorporate their own energy system.
No. So I can answer right away. Tany's Pasture has been going through the process of designing the new development. The capacity of Tany's Pasture plant is based on a new development and projection going forward for next 50 years. So at the present time, the Tany's Pasture plant have installed 20 capacity more, whatever we needed for today. Plus we got extra space in the plant to go to double the capacity. And this is based on a new plans for Tany's Pasture. Don't forget that there are several buildings on Tany's Pasture that will be demolished, and we still carry this capacity, and the new building will be built in this location. So the Tany's Pasture is completely covered. There's no problem. We have full capacity and hopefully greening too for the new buildings. Confederation Heights is slightly different because we didn't get any information from Confederation Heights Master Development Plan, what will be the future capacity. So the future capacity was allowed, the design for Confederation Heights plant allow only for 20% increased capacity. However, as I said before, the chances are that under new master development plan from Confederation Heights, the Confederation Heights plant will be moved further away from the LRT towards the, I guess, towards west. We don't know exactly yet. So at that time, we hope that there will be enough information in a development plan that we can properly size the plant. Sizing it right now for future development that may or may not happen, it was cost prohibitive.
Thanks, Thomas. We're gonna take
a
question.
question.
Yeah, I think so. Yes, thank you. Yeah, Patrick says also thank you. We're gonna take a question now from Mike.
Hi, Tomas. It's Mike Fletcher from Ottawa. Nice to hear your voice.
Hey, Mike. Long time no see.
Yeah. Just a question about biomass energy. So I'm thinking that the prohibition against biomass energy wouldn't include renewable natural gas. Is that correct?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
it's strictly combustion of the I guess
Wood.
tree clippings
Yeah.
and wood chips and stuff like that, which
Right.
if you look at the source, the renewable natural gas will be very similar. But anyways,
Uh-huh.
I
Okay.
still fight. I have a last presentation that I want to present to Treasury Board and see if I can win this fight. But that will be the last kick of the can. If they say no, I won't waste any more time on biomass. We have the
Okay.
biomass boiler, a pilot that we put in Confederation Heights. That idea was that we use this to decarbonize Confederation Heights because it's not connected to the rest of the distribution, and we don't have enough juice to put electric boilers. But Treasury Board said no.
Okay. Just so you know, I mean, the city's direction with biogas, for example, from wastewater, is still towards making renewable natural gas.
Yeah, I know. With the problem with the renewable natural gas, when we research the market, there's not enough to cover our requirements, and it's a chicken and egg. Every time we talk to developers, they say, "Oh, pay me for the plant, I'll build the plant," and we say, "No, you build the plant, we give you the long-term contract." And it's as a federal government, I can't pay ahead of a time to build the plant. We can only pay for what we get.
Yeah. Okay,
So
well,
one of
who
the
knows?
ideas,
Maybe we'll be able to have both a chicken and an egg in Ottawa.
Yeah, well, maybe. But what we're planning to do, if we, when Treasury Board told us no, so one of the ideas to cover the remaining 8% is to buy the credits that will go towards budget for renewable natural gas.
Oh,
That's
I see.
part of the strategy that we have.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
We good? We can go?
A few more questions. Are you okay to get?
Go ahead. I'm okay. It's your time, not mine.
Yeah. Well, it's great that, we are doing this because we want to answer the questions, right? So do you have a submetering plan in place to build district energy usage users? And what type of submeters are used?
Well, so we're using the European energy grade and commercialized heaters. Basically, they are BTUs meters, if you want that, energy meters that are on a supply side to building side of ETS. So we're monitoring the energy being supplied to each of the buildings. And that's how they're being built. And the billing is done in two ways. It's very similar to your gas bill or electricity bill. There's a capacity portion, which is fixed, and there's a demand, the usage or consumption, which is flexible, depends on how much you use. So let's say that you own the building and you say, okay, my peak demand is 1 megawatt. We'll charge you for 1 megawatt is a fixed rate for the duration of the contract. Now, how much you use every month is being charged, measured by the meter, and that's how we will bill you.
Thanks, Thomas. I think you answered the question. Faisal, just confirm. Yes, okay, you answered the question. Thank you. The other question is, what is the nuclear energy source you're looking at?
Very good question. So it's very, very, very preliminary. So I wouldn't spend too much on this. As you know, nuke is not a very popular energy source, but it's really very limited amount of energy sources that we can use. We look at the MMR, micro modular reactors, that are the fourth generation of nuclear reactors, because of the design safety. So by definition, the major problem with the nuclear reactors is that, and everybody's afraid of that, is a meltdown, and what happens, that nuclear fuel get out of this concrete, or not, depends, concrete or not concrete, out of the bubble that's supposed to protect from radiation. And that happens when you have a water-cooled reactor or gas-cooled reactor that are active reactors, means that you need action in order to remove the heat from the reactor. In case of Chernobyl, the water pump stops and the water quickly becomes vacuum. and stuff get out of control, the temperature goes up, the reaction goes up, and we got a problem. The same with Japan, when the cooling system was knocked off. I mean, the reactor ran out of the control. In this case, the physics of the reactor fusion is different. The higher the temperature, the slower the nuclear reaction. So if you shut down the cooling system and the system is not removing heat from the reactor, the temperature goes to about 550 degrees and the reaction starts slowing down and eventually stops. So that's why we look at that type of reactor, because we want to make sure that it's the safest way we can do, because we want to install it in Ottawa. You can imagine how much pushback we will have to have the reactor over there. So we look at a very, very safe reactor installation. By the way, very similar reactor has been approved already for installation in Chalk River. For folks that don't know Chalk River is Atomic Energy of Canada testing grounds. They produce isotopes. There has been reactors over there. There was 4 reactors. There's now only 1 operational, but it's a known nuclear site in Ontario. So they putting a new one, so it's so much easier. But we will be following their footsteps, trying to see if the same reactor can be installed here.
Thanks, Thomas. That was a question that I had in my mind as well. So thank you, Gail, for asking this question. We're going to take one more question and then move to the presentation. And that question is, are there ground source or geothermal energy sources being used for heating and cooling?
The quick answer is no. And the reason for it is twofold. First, I don't know if the person who asked the question was dealing with it, but a lot of stuff that you get from the first thing you have to do geothermal, geological exploration, and you hire the company to drill the wells. We did that. And the first thing you get in the report is the disclaimer that the information may or may not be true. They don't take any responsibility. If you got what the report says, that's great. But if you don't, so this is not a strict science. So it's expensive. It's proven when it works, but Ottawa area doesn't have a large aquifer. If you get a lake, if you got a large aquifer that you know it's there and it won't be changing quickly on you, you got a fighting chance. If there's none and you go into the ground and use the ground as a source of heat or cooling, any changes in morphological combination of the ground, it changes the result dramatically. And we will need a huge amount of a huge area in order to be having a couple of megawatts, 5 megawatts, 10 megawatts, that makes a difference. It's a big field. And we look at it and we decided, no, there will be better ways to do it. And not to mention that they will still use electricity, because basically what you're doing, you're taking the heat from the ground and you use the heat pumps to pump it up to the temperature that you can supply to the building. So in case of power failure, for example, this doesn't work. Electrical boiler doesn't work. So it's a risky proposition to have district energy system that is promising 99.9995 reliability and be based on electricity only. We will never do that. So no, the same goes for solar. Amount of solar panels that are required in order to provide meaningful amount of energy for district energy system, not the building, but district energy system, is huge. And with the quality of panel going down, we look at a couple of installations. Again, it's a risky proposition, high capital, and we don't think that we will go that way. So the answer is no. That was a long answer to say no.
Well, that was a good answer. Thanks for elaborating a little bit more, because we are, in other webinars, we've been talking about geoexchange and geothermal energy, and it's good to hear your perspective as well. These were the questions.
It's a lot of them, a lot of them is done in Europe. And it's like I visited a couple of installations, both in Paris and in Copenhagen, and Paris is very lucky. They got water aquaform that's 50, 60 degrees Celsius. So, I mean, sure, absolutely. Iceland, absolutely, no problem whatsoever. They have other problems because high sulfuric source in the water create a havoc. But in our case in Ottawa, it's a risky proposition.
Right. Yeah. Thanks, Thomas. These were the questions for now. You can continue now with the rest of the presentation.
Okay, so you have we discussed it, but you have here a quick summary of what we investigated, and we did the study. So what we do, we take the capital and divide the capital by the tons of GHG saved by this technology, and we come up with the number, and we put ourselves a limit how far we want to go, and strategize that way. So this assessment that you can see here, biomass and nuclear, was recommended basically not on a technical difficulty how to implement it, by the cost per GHG saved. Here you go. This is like a propaganda picture. This is the expansion. So when we look at the national capital, our district energy system, you can see there's a small node in Quebec, there's small up north in Ontario side, downtown core, and then Tiny Pasture. That's where the plants are located. Confederation Heights at the very, very bottom. We won't talk about the Confederation Heights because we don't know what the future of the entire complex will be. So we're not talking about that. The hospital is in the middle. We're talking to the hospital, but they decided to go their own way. So we'll see. Maybe there will be some future business, but right now there's not. So our main intention is to explore the area around downtown. That's where the density is the biggest, and the cost of connection is so much better, because if you have a large density, one pipe can supply many buildings. If you go in the lower density area between Tiny Pasture and downtown core, it's a little bit more complex. However, that's the area when it's Liberaton Flats potential connection. We see the development along the LRT as a potential. So if you can follow the LRT with the pipeline, you can hook up these buildings. Also Gatineau. So just for your information, we have a letter of about 20 buildings that express interest to connect to our system, some in Gatineau, some in Ontario. So we're looking actively right now on how we can grow the system to accommodate these new buildings. Okay, that's the connection that will, the black one are done, the red one is future. We have the project on the books right now. Project has been approved, pending the funding, and we don't have the funding yet. Okay, that was a potential when we were planning to supply hospital, because we would like to connect all the networks together, but right now there's no business case. We're talking to Ottawa Carleton. It's a possibility, but it's hard. Hospital decline. So I think the connection between Confederation Heights and Cliff Distribution right now is a big question mark. But again, design of the district energy system is for next 50 to 100 years. It's not something that you design for the next 5 years. It is very heavily capital intensive in the beginning. So, and it's slow development. So we're planning for future planning where we can put the roads to connect more building. The gray area that you see, or yellowish, or whatever the color it is a potential for the connection. The building that are kind of purple, they're buildings that are already connected to the system. It's hard to see on this picture, but I hope you can see the difference. And that's the ultimate 100 years from now district system in Ottawa. You can see that we only have the little piece on the right-hand corner at the top. There's a government Calling campus and the Shirley Bay campus, and also there's potential for installation of the new campus north of Shirley Bay. Shirley Bay and Calling campus both have small district energy system, and we're thinking about connecting them together and bring them all the way to Tanis. And eventually, when we will talk to the city, they have to do something with the garbage. We're looking at about waste to energy, which is extremely popular in Europe. but I guess in Canada it's slightly different. We got tons of room to dump the garbage, and energy is very cheap, so it's very hard to compete. Waste to energy is way more expensive. Energy from waste to energy is more expensive natural gas, and it's comparable to electrical, but it's again a big pushback on from most of the people. And next step, what we want to do, we need to get the acceptance of the next stage of greening. We presume that we will have no problem to complete the project in 2026, and we have the 30 megawatts of electric boilers as a base. But if the new building wants to connect, we would like to move further. So we're looking at the approval for nuclear and biomass. Biomass we'll know very quickly. I think with the next few months, my last presentation to Treasury Board will be, and if they say no, we drop it from the wagon and we'll start working on the nuclear. DNE is an expansion in Gatineau, the little red line that was over there on the picture. We will look for the budget in next fiscal year. If that will be accepted, if that will be accepted, we will put implementation next fiscal year. And expansion will be slowly expanding to the other building. It's easy to expand to government buildings. We already, our first expansion is to Adisoke, Ottawa Central Library. That will be the first building that will be connected to the new modernized system. We already have a not preliminary, more than preliminary discussion, and decision was made that the building will be connected. We're working now actively to get the project in place. We'll need the temporary heating and cooling before our system will be ready. So anyways, so that's the first building to be connected to our system. Now, learning. Federal government doesn't want to let go of the assets, so we keep the asset, which is, I think it's okay because the assets are extremely expensive. So it's very difficult for private partner to spend that kind of money on an asset. It's a slow progress. P3 is a good idea if you don't have too much capital. However, we shorten the P3 financing period from 35 years to 5 years. And I think for the district energy system, it's crucial. You don't want to be held hostage by the lending institution. So in our case, the capital construction is $1.5 billion, which was borrowed from 5 international lending institutions by our P3 partner, Innovate Energy. The lending institutions have a right of veto to any change to the contract. So if you want to connect the building, they can say, no, we don't like it. So for us, a district energy system has to grow. That's the whole idea. You build a system slowly and growing up. For us, having somebody to be able to say no, and we experienced that a hard way when we're trying to connect Adisoke and convince them that eventually connection is after substantial completion, but because we did some preliminary work before that, they seen that as a risk to the project. So what they want us to do to reopen the bidding with the lending institution and change the margin. And we said, there's no way in hell we will do that, because under competitive pressure, you can have a good margin, lending margin. But if there's sole source, you don't. So, and also when you reduce the financial period, the cost of borrowing of $1.5 billion over 30 years is substantial. It's a lot of money. Yes, I don't really have to spend it, but it's a lot of money that is going to the bank. So to me, yes, P3, but I wouldn't go for the long period. Second takeaway for me, getting the land for distribution is very, very, very difficult. Even for federal government, you have to go through private, other government lands. It's a long process. And it's a very good excuse from private partner to tell you, oh, you didn't give me the land. It's a delay claim. So we get cut by that. We had a lot of problem, and mind you, in Ottawa, most of the land was provincial or municipal or federal, but still the process is extremely long. The federal government is not, it doesn't have a good setup for district energy system, because our procurement system is such cumbersome and it's so complicated. It's getting complicated every day. So if somebody comes to me and said, Thomas, I want to connect this building, when can I get the decision? Because my boilers and chillers are slowly getting to the time that I have to replace them or connect to your system. I have to say, listen, I can answer you in 2-3 years, because that's what will take me in current government environment to get approvals. I have to go through so many levels of approvals that it's incredible. So we have to change this model because this model doesn't work. And the last but not least, people told us before, it's P3, why you need such a big team? You don't have to do any oversight. They will do it. They're responsible for everything. Wrong. You need even more oversight than on the regular project. You know, it's so crucial to have boots on the ground, your inspectors, your owner's engineer to walk the site on a daily basis and make sure that the project is going according to a PA and is according to your schedule. It's extremely difficult later on to complain when stuff is done, because it will be too late. I haven't seen yet in my life the PA or project agreement or tender document that are clean and precise. There's always gray area. And you have intention, but the good intention paves way to hell. And when it goes on paper, the person on the other side of the table will come with the argument, no, we didn't understand it that way. It was honest mistake. We thought that you don't need it. You were not clear in telling us that that's what we need. It's a fixed bid. Sorry, you won't get it. So it was, yes, it's a partnership, but man, oh man, it has to be as clear as possible in the documents what really you want. And through the very crucial time of the P3 contract is negotiation with private partner before the bid is closed. Explain to them everything 3-4 times. That's what the intention is. That's what we want. Please bid accordingly. Partnership is also important. There will be time that they will interpret your PA different way. So you have to pick up your fight. Some stuff you let go, some stuff you fight, but it has to be a partnership. Don't create a situation that it becomes extremely controversial, because the private sector will win in the end. In the end, they have better resources. They have been in this business for many years, and they find a way to win if you go to war. Municipality, the federal government, provincial government, municipal government has to come to agreement and with the private partner. And yes, we will lose some of the small stuff, but let's make sure that we win the big stuff. Another lesson learned, and Mike, that would be a lesson for you, I guess, if you can help me. The municipality has to understand that district energy system is not your regular project. We can't wait for months and months and months of review and approval. It should be treated as a utility. The proper design of the city should give the corridors for distribution of electricity, water, and district energy system. I know district energy system in North America is fairly new and is a strange animal, and like, why you want to go here? And every time we want to put the pipe in the ground is a major project. Takes time. You can't do that. You will never grow the system if that will be this difficult as it is right now. Maybe some municipalities are better, but if I take example of Markham District Energy System, which it's owned 100% by the city, the shares, it's so much easier to operate because it's interest of the city to get it in place. In our case, it's like we almost like we fight every single time. And the last but not least, European has been doing that for decades, hundreds of years. So they have a very good standard. Unfortunately, the standards are not known in North America. So we use a lot of European standards. We brought European piping, controls, meters, and it was a struggle for contractors in North America to do it properly, to install it properly. The more we do it, the better it is, but it's difficult. Okay, why district energy system? Several reasons. I think it's from municipal perspective, from city perspective, this is the best way to go forward if you're really serious about decarbonizing the city as far as heating. All the talk about electricity is great, but if you look at the amount of electricity required to heat, and not only the building, but generally heat requirement, you have to quadruple your electrical generation and distribution. A, cost will be phenomenal. B, the time frame will be tens of years, 10, 20, 30, in order to do that. With district energy system, you can do it much simpler. That's one, and cheaper. The second is technology being developed. If you put gas-fired boiler in the building, the chances to change for different technology are slim to none for many, many years. If you got district energy system, you can switch between the different fuels much easier, and you supply numbers of buildings versus one building. Redundancy. If you have a single building and you put the boilers, usually you want to have one additional boiler in case shit happens and the boilers in the middle of the winter stop working. They never stop in the summer, they always stop in the winter. So if you got 40 buildings and you have the redundancy, you got 40 additional pieces of equipment sitting doing nothing. In our case, we'll have one additional boiler sitting and doing nothing instead of 40. So there's economy of scale when you go to district energy system. Barrier to install district energy system, capital, upfront capital is very, very high. That's why most of the district energy system in Europe and also in North America starts with some sort of government, federal, municipal, provincial, where the funding is assigned, and you have this, you build a critical mass of the clients, and then you can move to semi-private or private operation because your capital is already protected by the number of contracts that you have with the private with the buildings. If you're starting district energy system, you got 1, 2 clients, and you got huge capital. So it's very difficult and it's hard to make a business case that you don't know how many buildings will connect, maybe none, and then you're screwed. Second is approval process. Yes, the best from the capital perspective is to start by having municipal, federal, or provincial government involved. The drawback is that all of them have extremely complicated approval process, several layers, and you really have to find a champion that will pull the project through all the approval versus you pushing the rope up the hill, because it's very difficult. Knowledgeable contractors, knowledgeable consultants. There's 2 companies really knowledgeable about the district energy system, and that's across the world. And one has a semi-presence in North America, FVB. The other one, they're waiting for the big contract before they develop the office. So the Danish and Swedish companies, it's hard to get the good guys. So we have we signed a contract with FVB, which is one of the best. And the problem was that our private partner didn't have the same designers. Basically, our consulting office was teaching the private partner consultants how to do district energy system. They basically wanted to design this as water system. Everybody knows the water system. Well, there's water in a pipe. Why should it be different? Well, it's huge difference. So that's the problem. So, and the second problem after that is that, again, when our private partner bid on a system, they bid on a water system. And they find out the very hard way that, no, that's not like the water system. It's completely different. So we don't have a lot of knowledgeable contractor and consultant, unfortunately. It's slowly building up, but very, very slow. Key benefit, I guess you can read it. I already talked decarbonizing a large part of the city. The only way I found, and well, if you look at any report from Europe, the only way to decarbonize the city is the secondary system. Otherwise, it's just impossible. Yes, they have a different density. Agreed. Our city are more spread out, and the cost is much higher. What works against us also is our tax base is so much smaller than European tax base because of density of population, and energy in Canada or North America is super cheap comparing to Europe. So that works against us, but it's still the only way to go if you want to decarbonize the city, I think, is to install this secondary system. Energy supply, obviously. I mean, you get different energy supplies in the secondary system. You can switch from one to another. And if you have power outage, you go to gas. If you get problem with the gas, you go to electricity. Hopefully, we have another source also that you will be able to flip between the two. And it also helps you to decrease the cost of energy, because it's, imagine if everybody is married to electricity, the cost of electricity will go through the roof, and eventually people will say, okay, fine, I like to be green, but not at this cost, or I'm switching back to natural gas. So if you have a house, it's impossible. A building, it's impossible to do. We can flip between, depend on the cost, and that's what the plan is, that we will be moving between the systems. We will have our promised, or our carbon intensity as a limit, and then within this limit we will play with different resources, energy sources, to make sure that the cost is as minimum as possible. Visible infrastructure is only possible if you have some sort of visitor education center, or you have a plant built as a landscape, architectural landscape. We decided to do that. We think that it will pay in a long run. We'll see. Oh, that's it. 3 minutes left.
Yes, no, thanks so much. This was very informative, and you were able to answer. We don't have as of now question. I have one in mind that maybe you can answer, but for those who need to leave, thank you very much for being with us with 1 hour with us and answering, asking your questions. And yeah, I agree. There were a few comments here that it was very informative, and like the experience and that you had with and the comments and the that you share about the P3 model. I think as kind of like a closing question is, and I know that it's maybe a large one, but what are measures in place to ensure the reliability and resilience of a district energy system? Because moving to, and you kind of elaborate, but like moving to electrical everything, how does it work when there is a power outage or anything else?
Yeah, so in our case, it's very simple. We have gas-fired boilers with a generator that enough juice that will power the boilers. We can provide all the heating required with gas-fired. Yes, at the detrimental of GHG emission, but if you have a power outage, I guarantee you, people would like to have heat over the GHG savings. So we have this capability to do everything through the natural gas, if there's a power outage.
How come was maybe I missed it, but is there anywhere that there is like a solar energy that is utilized, or
no? No, we don't. And again, solar is first of all, in our latitude is in winter when you need most of the heat, sun is low, and amount of heat that you can extract from sun is small. If you want to use solar, you can do it only with the thermal storage, that you will be able to store a huge amount of energy, because otherwise the amount of energy you're getting on a daily basis is, and in a night when the temperature really dips, you have nothing. So it's not something, when you look at solar, that's not something that will be incorporated. People putting solars on the buildings, it's a window dressing. Amount of energy they recuperate from solar is not that great. Solar thermal, you can use it for heating your pool, and people are very happy about it. Yes, it's in the middle of the summer when the sun is really strong and and it's really high, so you're really hitting the panels at the right angle. And for a couple of megawatts, you need fields of panels. in our climate with the snow, rain, rust, maintenance of that stuff, and not to mention that majority of the panel right now, unfortunately, are produced in China, and the quality of them went down. So yes, the price went down, no doubt about that, but the quality went down. So we're not looking at it at all.
Mike, do you want to jump in and ask your question or comment?
Well, I just want to comment on one thing just about resiliency. Like, you know, most of Ottawa is heated with gas right now, and if we lose electricity, we lose heat. None of the gas heating works without electricity. So, I mean,
We got generator, Mike.
Well, okay, but not everywhere does. Like, you know, maybe 10% of the floor space in Ottawa has a generator that would run the heating system.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah. No, but we will have generator to cover entire heat demand in our system, about 100 megawatts.
Okay,
no generator 100 megawatts, obviously. Just your gas-fired boiler needs very little power.
Right. So the gas will be on, and then you have a generator for the pumps running hot
pumps
water.
And boiler controls, lights, light safety. But also we can run all our gas-fired boilers with generators, no problem whatsoever. And they are dual. The boilers are dual fuel. We have oil in case total disaster happen, you have no gas and no power.
Right.
We still got the oil storage on site for each plant.
Yeah. Okay.
So we got actually 3 different fuel sources and 2 provinces, right? So I mean, it has to be real. If that disaster like that hits, I mean, everybody goes home.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, good.
Thanks. Fiona, I see your hand raised. Do you want to ask a question? I mean, we can probably keep Thomas for like 2 minutes more, but
no, that's fine. I have no problem. Another 15 minutes, I have no problem. After that, it becomes dicey.
No, it's okay. I think actually, Fiona, probably that was a mistake because you put your hand down. Well, I think that's it. One question. And I don't see that in the presentation, but was wind with the backup battery storage considered?
Sorry?
Was wind considered? We asked about solar. Was wind considered? Probably the same reason.
No, again, the reason is pretty straightforward. Downtown Ottawa, where you put the wind towers, like, I mean, it's the amount of, if anybody, whoever asked the question, saw a wind farm that generates a couple of megawatts, it's several hundreds of the windmills. I mean, you can have one small turbine someplace in the field, but then you have to bring the power over. It's fairly expensive and intermittent. Again, it has to be coupled with a wind turbine generate only electricity. So you have to put batteries or heat the water. It becomes extremely complex. It's an instant energy when it's available, when the wind is blowing. So for our purposes, we didn't look at it. We look at the wind and we just discarded very quickly, the same as solar. And by the way, if anybody have more questions, you can email me and we can take it offline and discuss it later.
Thank you, Thomas. There are no more questions on in the chat or in the Q&A box, and you answered all of them. Thank you so much for your time, for walking us through this project, and very appreciated the points of your experience and lessons learned, especially on the procurement, on the P3 model. Very, very informative. And thank you everyone who joined us. Feel free to register for our next upcoming webinar. It's April 3rd, where we're going to talk about district energy again. And enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you very much, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.